All right. So now that we're all already talking about it, I will drop this in here. So this from Drone DJ. The new FCC filing talks about the new FPV drone, the new remote controller, and the DJI FPV goggles version 2. So as we were pointing out, the model number is for the FPV drone is FD1W4K, so it may have a 4K camera on it. It is running a 2000 milliamp battery at 22.2 volts. Um, Seems like the battery is going to be encapsulated within the drone during flight, so we don't have flying batteries because we all know that flying batteries are no fun. I've thrown a couple myself. The remote controller has a 2600 milliamp battery, um, and it seems from pictures that we've seen, it's going to be styled like a almost like a Tango. It's got a flip up antenna, game controller style, very reminiscent of an Xbox or PlayStation controller. Um, the FPV goggles version 2. Everything that they've seen is that they're relatively the same. My hopes is that they're a little bit smaller and more form factorish.
Kind of doubt that.
As yeah, well, I mean, the one nice thing is they are definitely a good screens in there, and definitely a good package in there, but we've heard some I know I've read some rumors that for antennas, the antennas are positioned slightly differently, and that there possibly is a built-in patch antenna. So
I didn't see that in the FCC filings.
I didn't either, but I saw somebody posted something. It might have been on Facebook yesterday. As much as you can trust that, but um, so I mean that would be an interesting combination. Five antennas uh, for
Yeah.
distance and diversity.
What I
So
saw was they actually labeled the antennas and they showed which two antennas were transmit antennas and which two were receive antennas, and they were diagonally
oh,
across the the goggles. So if you
okay,
look through those FCC filings and you scroll down into the testing file, it shows sort of outlines of the goggles and what different antennas are doing what. And
gotcha.
the other most interesting thing I think is that all three pieces do both 2.4 gigahertz and 5.8 gigahertz.
Oh,
There's no
that'd be
900
interesting.
megahertz like the rumors had in it, but they are tested and working on both 2.4 and 5.8. I don't know how
Well,
they
that
work together, but they do.
interesting. Well, that'll be a definite push on range, being able to drop into the 2.4. So.
Yeah, and
All
like
right.
extra, hopefully not video on 2.4. Yeah, I don't know if they're running control link on 2.4 and video on 5.8, or they mix the two together, or any of those things. But that'll be fun
Yeah.
to see when people do get reviews of them out there.
All right. So the other big piece of news this week was Arecibo um, collapsing.
Oh yeah, that
Uh,
video was something else. Did you watch
so
the drone video of the
that's what
cable
this is.
snapping?
Yeah. So they had a video up when it looked like they were inspecting the cables, and you can see the cables were frayed and whatnot, and then it just snaps, and you don't actually see the receiver array actually fall into the dome, but you see kind of the distinct aftermath of it and the dust and debris and whatnot. Um,
Don't
yeah,
start any
somebody was
rumors there, Bruce.
right. Somebody did post. It might have been in your channel or in your group, Bruce, that somebody's going to blame a drone for taking out Arecibo, right? But yeah, that was pretty crazy, and definitely a big blow to the observatory community. So, um, pretty tragic. They were working on phasing out the actual the radio array anyway, but this kind of just hastened that its demise, I guess. So,
Yeah, I couldn't
but
imagine being the drone operator, like checking out those cables, and you suddenly start to see it snap.
it's like, oh
Uh,
crap. Yeah, I can definitely imagine that was kind of a a crazy moment. This is probably one of the most interesting uses of a drone that I've seen thus far. Um, so this little tiny whoop kind of thing is actually using moth antennas to sniff out chemicals. And they're actually harvesting these and somehow linking these into the electronics. So that little loop that you see at the top of the drone there, that's actually a moth antenna.
Oh gosh, poor moth.
Right? They're dubbing it the smellicopter. Um, but it can be used to sniff out chemicals like toxic particles um, at a fraction of the concentration of that detectable by another. Um, obviously, you know, moths were harmed in the making of this drone. So, but apparently the cells of the antenna are excited by the particles wafting over them and created a fast and reliable and accurate signals for those chemicals they are built to detect. Um, it says reprogramming those sensitivities would be non-trivial but far from impossible. Apparently, the team used a pair of fins on the backside of the drone to keep the antenna pointed upward and upwind, so that it can basically be used to detect that. There's a video in the link there, um, detailing it, as well as an interview with one of the researchers working on the project. So, um, yeah, that's super fun. Let's see. This is a kind of a satire article. This comes from the National Law Review, um, and um, it starts off very weird. And it says, "If we think about drones, we probably think about remote-controlled assassination machines manned by Mossad, or fly through tours of the homes of the rich and famous." You know, I mean, obviously,
One of
being a
those
part of
too, huh?
right, it could be anything else. Um, So it goes into talking about different uses of drones, like police drones that can be sent out to the scene of a crime, or drones that are used to see when wild hogs are destroying your crops. And then the guy goes into a couple different kind of satire type uses for drones. So one of them would be the gecko cam, which would be the Geico insurance customers are astounded to see their rates increase after the insurance carrier deploys smart drones to watch your driving habits. And then the daddy drone, just program the daddy drone with your daughter's favorite haunts, and voila, no need to prowl the neighborhood with your lights off. The Karen camera, the gym rat. So definitely, you know, the guy's having a little bit of fun here, but I thought it was kind of a cute, but definitely the weird beginning. Um, so this one talks about something we've talked about for a while, which would be drone localization policies. So, as we know, there was some legislation that I think I read got pushed out of the DoD reauthorization, or refunding or whatever, about banning Chinese drones, or Chinese manufactured drones, and those drones would be including obviously DJI. Um, they do talk about this in the article, where it would be, people think that it would be better to store data domestically, and that foreign firms can't be trusted. This policy is known as data localization. Um, and the author here goes on to posit that uh, the policy serves no purpose, uh, because many countries are waking up to the problem and taking steps to roll back such measures, but it appears not enough policymakers have learned a lesson, as history seems to be repeating itself, with emerging technology being drones. So the Justice Department's Office of Justice Program revised its drone purchasing policy, prohibiting the use of federal funds to purchase drones manufactured by a covered foreign entity. Meanwhile, almost a year after it temporarily grounded its entire drone fleet because all of its drones were either made in China or with parts from China, the Interior Department issued a memo incentivizing the use of US made drones from the Defense Department's blue UAS list. So those would be companies like Altavion, Parrot, Skydio, Teal, and Vantage Robotics. Um, so it goes on to say, the policies serve no real purpose because the security of drones doesn't depend on where they're made. It says domestic drones can be hacked and foreign drones can be secure. And I've covered various articles about DJI's security policies on their drones, the ability to turn data collection off, and definite control. There was specific software written for the Department of the Interior's drones by DJI in conjunction with the DOI that makes that completely impossible to be able to connect a drone to DJI servers. Um, but it says by limiting which drones the federal government buys, these policies limit access to the best, most secure technology. Moreover, if other countries copy this model by prohibiting drones based on their country of origin, it would restrict US drone companies from exporting their products and services. So we could fall into the same trap trying to sell US made drones to other parts of the world. So definitely an interesting article covering why the localization policies are a bad idea. Um, as we've said all along, I think it's, like the potential remote ID. It's onerous and it really doesn't take any of the real risk into. Uh, it doesn't factor any of that into the policies that they're creating. So, um,
Hey,
let's
Kojo.
see. Yeah, what's up, bud?
Hey, you got to comment on that one. I think I've talked to you guys about it last week, but you guys, you basically touched on it, but didn't say exactly the name of the program. They call it Riser,
Mm-hmm.
and that's like the whole thing specific to DJI, the DUI, or someone in the government basically hired a company called Rogue Squadron RS. And
Mm-hmm.
if you look at the Android store, they basically it's called RS Pilot. You use that. I'm actually doing that right now. I'm in Virginia Beach with the special operations folks and flying a DJI on their base.
Uh-huh.
And they required me to put be riser compliant, which basically I had one of our software guys that knows how to do that stuff. Basically, upload the right software on both the drone and the tablet that's connected to the controller. And
Mm-hmm.
so both of them have to have that, riser compliant software. And then you're also using the RS Rogue Squadron app, RS Pilot app, and so doing all three of those makes you or allows you to use DJI products within DoD installations.
Oh
Um,
wow, that's
yeah,
pretty interesting.
and so like I basically right like today I'm sitting in a hotel right now basically, but today I went and flew, over at in Virginia Beach here at one of the bases here. Basically flew in within their airspace, and they have a established COA as well. But yeah, I was able to fly, and that's what they want, and that's what they and you can they wanted you to prove it, so like we give them the paperwork that showed, hey, that we're riser compliant, and to be able to get riser in general, you have to have like a DoD account, is what I was told. You have to like the riser software to be able to download that and then upload it onto your drone. You have to have initially someone sponsored within the DoD to be able to even download that.
Wow.
Yeah, so luckily we had that software already. So that's
Wow.
I know it's not the super detailed process, but I mean I couldn't
No,
explain it
it's
very well, but that's basically top level of what it's about.
okay. That's great information. Cool. All right. So let's jump into this one. So we've talked about NVIDIA and the drone world using NVIDIA AI processors in their drones. So this is one of the companies that is jumping into that would be Skydrone, and they're using NVIDIA AI processing on their 5G connected drones. So this would allow rapid AI processing of data coming from a drone in midair and reacting to it in real time, and specifically for use flying beyond visual line of sight. So Skydrone specializes in drone connectivity technology and has been the leader of 4G LTE connection devices for the past few years. And there thousands of AI startups use NVIDIA GPUs to accelerate their solutions and disrupt key markets. Um, and they use NVIDIA Deep Learning Institute to allow limited access to their developer forums and hardware. Uh, so Skydrone, I clicked at the bottom here. Skydrone has a Skydrone FPV3. I clicked on that. That's $1,000 FPV setup that runs on 4G LTE networks. So, we could be paying $1,000 if you want to transmit on 4G at 1080p. So there's that. But definitely interesting that NVIDIA is not just, being used as a graphics card technology, but their processors are, being used for, numerous other things, including AI and in drones. So it does look bigger than a Connex Pro site. It's a little seems a little large, but for some of the more industrial grade drones, definitely for ones that would be doing like rail line inspection, agricultural inspection, you know civil engineering inspections. It might be a definite useful technology. um and being able to transmit over 4G 5G would definitely give you nearly unlimited range. So pretty interesting. This thing, I'm gonna jump over to this thing, and I really want one of these. So if somebody wants to send me one for Christmas, this would be great. So didn't pop up the picture. Hang on a second. Hold on a
You gotta
second.
have the picture.
I know the picture's definitely intense. So this is uh, a UAS that employs both quadcopter and fixed wing properties without using tilted. I want to say without using tilted rotors, but the rotors are tilted, but they're
Yeah,
fixed tilted.
kind of like the DJI
Uh,
FPV drone.
right. So the if you can see, I'll post a couple more pictures for those that don't want to click on the link, but um this thing is pretty intense, and it's got looks like about 45-degree tilted front motors that are facing upwards, and then 45-degree tilted motors on the backside that are facing backwards or facing down.
Is it
Um,
camouflage so it can surprise other air traffic?
well, I'm not sure, but this thing is crazy looking. And no, there's actual non 3D rendered ones here. Hang on a second. Um, see. I mean, they might be 3D rendered. Who knows with
With an
technology,
NVIDIA video card.
right? Yeah, there you go. But it seems like it's got a wingspan of maybe about 6 or 7 feet. It's kind of hard to tell. But obviously, it uses the motors. It would be able to hover, and it's able to cruise, basically with the help of the wings, for extended flight times. It's coming from Latvia, so I'm thinking some definite Doctor Doom potential here. So, um, but yeah, it's pretty crazy looking. So, um, let's see.
Hey, Kojo.
Yeah.
Hey, just another comment here for you guys. Look up Lynx VTOL, LYNX, and then VTOL, VTOL. Probably post if you can post a picture on it. Just Google it and you can see it on
Yeah.
images. I fly that also for work, so I call these hybrid. I mean, it's a hybrid class of UAS. and it's basically does the same functions, I believe, as what you just posted. But it's basically a quadcopter. It takes off and lands vertically, and then it transitions to forward moving flight, like a normal fixed wing prop up in the front.
Yeah.
And it does it beautifully. It does it very smooth, and both the transition out and back to VTOL. And it seems like it's a similar idea to what you posted here, right?
Yeah, it is, except the links looks like I mean the one I posted from the article doesn't have a forward facing prop. I think the 45-degree prop
Mm.
orientation kind of takes care of that. Um, but it would definitely, obviously massive flight controller influence on how fast, those props are spinning to maintain that forward moving flight as opposed to, just pushing it vertically.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, same.
How is the transition from vertical to horizontal handled? Is that within one flight controller?
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's cool.
It's so cool, man. It basically, the way when you visually look at it, when it goes from forward moving to back to VTOL, it does like a quick pitch up, not like nothing drastic, but just like you can see like a quick angle of attack increase.
Yeah.
And you can hear the props, the props spool up, the VTOL props spool up, and then the forward moving, the prop up in the front, spools down, and it just does it like you'd think it just look like shit. No, it does it beautifully, and I I don't know, it's just amazing. I'll try to get a video and send it to you guys one time of me flying.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, and
Very
it does that
cool.
automatically. You don't do that. Obviously you really can't do that manually with you're on your own, but you can take manual control once it gets into forward moving flight, or you can take manual
Transitions to
control in
VTOL.
or in VTOL if you want. It's not recommended. The guys that make it is SRP Aero out in California, and they're a small company. I've talked to them, and it's just it's used for surveying. Like that's what they built it for, like surveying type purposes. But you can take manual control. We're obviously, we buy shit and we do, we we do it that things with it that is not necessarily what they built it for, and we're trying to put sensors and payloads on it and stuff like that. And but the nice thing about it is people like to use hybrid type vehicles for, hey, I want to land on the back of a ship because I don't have a runway, and I need to go be on station somewhere for an hour or something like that, right? And it's hard to find something that can a fixed wing on its own that can do that, and I need to be able to go at 50 knots, constant 50 knots, and patrol this area for an hour or two. Right? The Lynx VTOL can do that, and the one you posted probably can do that too. It does an hour or 2 hours of flight time is what that Lynx VTOL does, which is nice.
I would imagine
Very
the one
cool.
I think the one I posted, it says in the article that it's got about a 20-minute flight time, and I would imagine that's because of the no front push, prop, and the quad motors, taking care of that thrust, as opposed to one forward facing prop. So which absolutely makes sense. And the thing looks like a tank, so it's probably got way too much weight on it. Whereas the Lynx is very svelte and pretty lean, I would imagine.
TextJet is telling us, TextJet 454 is telling us that Rdq pilot folks have these all over the place. So I'm assuming they're using an Arduino processor.
Yeah, I would imagine.
What's the code? What's the code?
Well, the other thing I'm curious about is on either of these aircraft, what the drag is like, like on the Lynx, like what's the drag like on the props when they're not in use, like on the quad props, and how much does that affect, the flight characteristics?
So not much, because the as you see in that picture, the second picture you sent, it automatically feathers the props forward and aft.
Okay.
So they don't spin in flight, and in forward moving flight. And same thing with the other one. The prop is not a big deal, right? In VTOL, it doesn't matter. But the front propeller does fold backwards. When it comes and touches on the ground, it doesn't break. It actually just folds backwards, like some aircraft do. So
that's cool.
They actually made the first one they made is just the Lynx, not the Lynx VTOL, and that one is just imagine without the VTOL motors. That's what it looks like, and they use that all the time. We've flown it out at Edwards Air Force Base in California, and they basically what they do, they just stall out. You can stall out at like 20 feet, and then they just come and hit the ground. And the wings, to reduce the load on the body, the wings are the first things that pop. They actually pop. They're designed
They
to
just pop off. Yeah, the breakaway.
Exactly, and that's what they made first, the Lynx, with that 2-hour flight time, and then they went to the VTOL version of it now. So, but there's a lot of like, I think it's not. I know it's not the only one. Like as they mentioned below, there are other stuff, but they're not as popular, and they're expensive too. So.
Well, I can imagine. Yeah, a lot of those industrial grade, surveying drones and UAS are definitely going to be on the pricier side
it's
of the
18. I think it costs us like $17,000 or $18,000.
Holy geez.
For one of them.
I wasn't expecting that much money, but hey, there you
That's
go.
expensive.
It comes in a nice carrying kit, and it's like a 3-layered carrying kit to be able to disassemble it all, and it's like 7-foot wingspan, I think, something like that. It's pretty it's pretty big.
All right, so Dave, you sent this to me as a little bit of comic relief. I'm going to drop it. I haven't had a chance to read it all, but this is
nor have I.
National Space Policy of the United States of America. So, Dave, have you read enough to talk about it?
I have not.
Okay,
it was published today. Yikes!
All right.
Yeah.
So, for those who want to know the space policy, this came out of the FAA, and this is the FAA's space policy for the United States of America.
It's only 40 pages, and there's a couple blank ones, so we might be able to read it.
So I'll just drop this here, and if those who want to read it can read it, and I'll try and get a little more well-versed on it for the next meeting. But not in article format, but just in general news. It seems like, and I'm not going to get too heavy into politics because that can be a touchy subject these days, but seems like President Trump has put forth nominations for Elaine Chao to take over the Kennedy Performing Arts or as a board position. Oh, hang on, let me get this straight. Has put forward nominations for Transportation Secretary Elaine Chao as members of the Board of Trustees of the John F. Kennedy Center of the Performing Arts. Beyond that, and let me get my other news articles up here on my phone. We are weighing, or Biden is waiting, Rahm Emanuel, his name has been floated for the incoming Secretary of Transportation. Now, that's not 100%. There are other contenders, such as Eric Garcetti from LA, whatever you think of him, Keisha Lance Bottoms of Atlanta, and Pete Buttigieg. So those are our possible contenders for being in charge of the FAA, as among other forms of transport.
So for better or worse, there will be changes.
So yeah, something could change. I don't know what that is, but so keep an eye on that, and yeah. So with that, I think I've quickly expired all my articles, and I think I ran through that pretty quick. Dave, do you have anything for us, sir?
Let's see. I did hear a couple of times that and I apologize, I was struggling to get connected from about 10 of the hour. So you may have already mentioned that the anticipated release of the final rule is somewhere between Christmas and New Year's of this year, I should amend.
Okay, so they've clarified more than just being by the end of the year. Now they're trying to say really at the very end of the year.
Yes.
Expectation would be somewhere.
This is not official, but I get it was a couple of people, and it was like I got the hint, hint, wink, wink. This is good source. That's the latest I've heard.
So we're estimating somewhere same time frame as the NPRM, probably 29th, 30th, right after Christmas, while people are sleeping and preparing to get completely trashed for the new year, and we'll see what happens with that.
Right, and Alex is mentioning there's a circular on the CBO and a circular on the flying it at night. And then, as he mentions, yep, released in the dead of night. Well said. And then there's I'm not sure about the recreational knowledge exam. While we've heard that may be out at the same time, I've also heard recently that they're struggling with various disagreements about it.
Yeah, I feel like I heard that there may be more information on it, but they were hoping for sometime in the spring to actually have the knowledge test available.
That
Question.
sounds consistent.
If you already have a Part 107, do you still have to do the recreational test?
If you're going to fly under recreational rules, I don't think so, because I think the 107 will encompass that. Now, we don't have a solid answer on that.
I thought
I
I
would
heard
imagine not.
the answer to that. I think the FAA has stated that, but I can't remember. And I kind of thought the answer was yes, but I'm not totally sure.
I'd say you would, because it's technically a different rule set.
But of course, the 88409 is under 107, so we'll see. It's a good question. We'll see if we can get some clarity on that.
Yeah, it's definitely a good question.
Gravy Leg's asking what's 44809. 44809 is the exception for recreational.
Gravy's not in chat.
UAS. And which is under Part 107. So those are the various 11 exceptions that allow us to fly recreational.
All right.
Here's a sticky question for you guys. If you're a Part 107, but you want to go fly your own drone and not necessarily a Part 107 operation, like, how does that work?
So the intent of the flight is what rule set you are going to fly under. So even if you are a Part 107, you can fly under rec rules, as TextJet was saying. So it's all about the intent of the flight. So if your intent is to go out and fly recreationally, you're not going to, make any monetary value off of it to include, monetizing a YouTube video or anything like that. Then yes, you can fly under recreational rules.
So right before you fly, yell into the sky, "I'm doing this recreationally," and then take
right.
off.
If you have your drone that's, let's say you're Part 1, you Part 107 registered it. Do you have to also register it if you're flying recreationally separately?
So recreationally, currently, if you're going to fly Part 107, then obviously you need to register the individual drones. Now, currently, depending on what happens with remote ID, you only have to register yourself as a pilot under recreational. So my suggestion would be is that if you're going to fly recreationally, register recreationally, and even if that drone is registered as a Part 107, you can still fly it recreationally.
Yeah, and like TextJet and Alex say, they just put both sets of numbers on their aircraft just to be extra safe.
So again, it all comes down to the intent of the flight.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a good question, though.
Yeah, because it's like both the drone, it's a pilot and an airframe thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Bruce, you should put them on there with like an Etch-a-Sketch, so when you crash, they erase themselves.
The whiteboard marker. Yeah, that's a good call, Dan. That's awesome.
Self-destructing.
I would have never thought of that.
Numbers.
That's so great. We should do that. That's hilarious. Let's just turn an Etch-a-Sketch.
Exploding bolts or something.
Yeah. Next Rotor Riot video.
Rotor Riot
Etch-a-Sketch. Etch-a-Sketch drone. Oh, that's perfect.
But speaking of time frames, we should mention that normally we would have another meeting in 2 weeks, but that puts us, the day before Christmas? So
yeah, we're not going to do that to you guys. So you can, we'll have a little bit of an extended holiday for you guys. You won't have to hear us for Are we going to do one the next week?
Likely we'll try to go for the week, the Wednesday after that, but maybe it all depends on the FAA if
Yeah,
they've
it
released
might.
anything.
So if we do, guys, if they've released something, we will give you as much information as we can at the time. If we do have a meeting, but please give us at least a few hours to comb over it in some detail and get that information through that. What about the RDQ lawsuit? They did post it. They did post some information. I do know that. Do we have a link to that? Does anybody have a link to that? I don't have one handy on me at the moment, but they did post some information. They post some Freedom of Information Act stuff that they had. Thank you. But again, while we do talk to Tyler, we're not heavily involved in that particular lawsuit.
And I had a brief exchange, positive exchange with Tyler this week. We just checked base and confirmed that we're doing the rapid analysis that we've talked about of the final rule as soon as it comes out, and because we don't put our information behind a paywall, well, regardless of that, we will share it with Tyler and his team.
Yeah, in fact, we will.
We think we're.
Go ahead.
Just from what we can tell, we've gained some reasonable level of knowledge about this stuff, so we think it can help Tyler's cause, and we're supportive of his efforts.
Yeah, and just like last time, guys, we'll post that information again. It will not be behind any paywall, and generally we send that information often unsolicited to everybody that we have contact information for, to include, out on Facebook and to companies like RDQ, like Get FPV, and we will send that rapid analysis out so that everybody kind of knows where we stand at that given point and kind of what the path forward it could look like. So, we're committed to that, and we will have that out. And then, from that point forward, we have 60 days to challenge it.
Well, I'm sure
So,
the remote ID rule will just say recreation's fine, no need to worry about it, and then we'll have nothing to do, right?
well,
Exactly.
according to
Not a
Administrator
problem.
Dixon, I mean, and if that's the case, I mean, let's charge
all
forward
good.
with that.
I guess then
so,
it'll be a party. We'll have to organize a party instead.
Yeah, we'll have a recreational drone day.
Virtual party.
Yep. And so
And
that'll
Leston is
be.
asking there, is there any kind of organization that groups all the RC retailers together?
No, there isn't.
No.
And that's something that we've explored, to be honest with you, and it's something that didn't quite take off.
And
But I would.
in some ways, the FPVFC is trying to sort of be that organization in such that we currently have a few of those stores endorsing us.
Yes. But would that be something that's possible in the future? It could be. We haven't put the idea to bed yet. But it's something that we tried to do. It's something that didn't quite take off at the time. But with current events and stuff upcoming, it may be something that needs to be reinvestigated in the near future. So.
Right. And the AMA does have a 501c6 organization, which is a trade association, and they've invited a number of retailers, but it's there's not Ready-Made RC might be part of it, but I think that may be it in terms of drone, the larger drone and FPV retailers. Horizon Hobbies, I'm quite sure is part of it.
So, and we are currently working with talking with other companies that like Get FPV are choosing to endorse us, and that's good for us. It's good for the hobby, and hopefully we can work on those relationships as we continue to grow. So.
text chat. Oh, so speaking of time, a bobcat in the park tonight. Nice. That's what you get for living in Texas.
That's funny.
Yep. Mine. Yep. There are all sorts of critters in Texas. Nice photo.
All right, Dan, you got anything for us, sir?
No, I don't.
Alex.
Don't got anything either. At least that I can
Alright.
think of.
All right. Well, I
Little pig, you
will.
feral pigs.
I will open any other comments, questions, concerns, anything we can help you guys with.
Saw we got a lot of new people in the Discord server recently. I think a lot of them came from some recent Facebook posts and an Instagram post by Get FPV, so they're doing a great job directing people our way. But go ahead,
Absolutely.
Elias.
Yeah, our thanks to Get FPV's endorsement, Rotor Riot's endorsement, and we'll hopefully add a couple more to those. That's helped us, and we appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, guys. So on that note,
I think Elias had one more question.
Thanks,
Just-
Bruce.
Thank you, Bruce.
Sorry, guys. Just curious, what do you guys record? You guys are recording this, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we post
Yes.
them to YouTube and podcast. So
Okay, copy.
absolutely.
I have a story for you guys after you are done recording.
Okay, sounds good. All right, guys. Well, with that, I will wish you guys a Merry Christmas. And even though we're a little bit a ways, but we won't see each other before then. So, or hear each other, I guess I should say.
Unless the FAA surprises us with new regulations, then we'll be back.
Exactly. So,
Alex says a happy remote ID.
All right. So I will say Merry Christmas, everybody. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you on the opposite side of Christmas. So